I think your body produces a lot of thoughts.
There you go.
Your body's part of like the biggest thinking apparatus that we have.
Right. Yeah, for sure. There's so many weird stories about this. Like a famous story you've probably heard of. Have you heard of this? This guy gets a heart transplant and ends up marrying the person's wife who gave him the heart. Have you ever heard of this?
That's cool. No.
Yeah, and I think the creepy part of it, and I might be mixing stories here. Forgive me, internet, if this is total bullshit, but I do think I remember like checking it. I think like the person's heart, I think that person killed themselves also or something. So it was like, and I think that person killed himself, something like that. Yeah, like by taking another person's heart into you, you sort of take their personality into you, or whatever the thing that we're talking about is. Like there's neurons in the heart.
Now people are going to be hunting for hearts of really open-hearted, fucking awesome people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people did. I mean, like warriors would like eat the heart of their opponent. You know, they would like eat it. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that a lot of like what we think of as our identity or personality, we don't have quite as much choice over it as we would like to imagine. We, and in fact, whatever that thing is so transient anyway that it's probably a little bit like an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of want it to exist. You talk to it. You have like a sense of it being there, but it's not real.
Right.
How could it be some permanent identity, some innate essential self? I mean, it doesn't seem to be one.
It feels to me like a Russian nesting doll to a certain degree. Like there's an identity encapsulated in kind of like a super identity, like a soul identity. And this is only from my own journeying, right? Of what I've experienced. The personality self, the small self, as Paul Selig would call it.
Right.
And then there's this kind of larger embodiment of self, which seems to transcend the physical body and the limitations. And it's felt like I've been able to access that non-specific Aubrey, the Aubrey that's beyond this Aubrey, but has existed as many different iterations of Aubreys that carried many different names.
Right.
But still has a unique identity. And then there's the absolute obliteration that goes all the way to the unified field with the divine, like on a 5-MeO journey or certain other different medicine journeys where you completely dissolve into the one or the zero, the everything or the nothing, which they have subtle distinctions, but nonetheless, it's still a unified field. And so I think it's very interesting to think about our identity, but I think of it like nesting dolls within the dimensional existence that we have.
Right. Yeah. The nesting dolls. Yeah. I've thought that's interesting. In Buddhism, this distinction gets drawn between absolute reality and relative reality. And so, relative reality, that's what we're in right now. I want coffee. I'm smoking a fucking embarrassing vape. You know what I mean? Like I've got a jug of water as I try, because I want to stay hydrated, because if I don't, I just dry up and feel like shit. So like that's relative reality. It's certainly here. It's definitely here. Absolute reality, which is what you're talking about, the whatever you want to call it, the totality of all things, the sum total of whatever may be, the ever-expanding circumference of consciousness that, like, there's a million names for the damn thing. So absolute reality is known as eternalism in the extreme. So with absolute reality, it's really funny. Like, you run into this concept of unchanging whatever. So in other words, absolute reality, implicit within that idea is that absolute reality must go on forever. It must not stop. It has to go on forever. It's permanent. So you've applied, that's why it's called eternalism. Eternally permanent. How could it not be? It's incomprehensible that all that is could cease to be, that it wouldn't exist, that it's just gone somehow by some, who knows how or where it goes or what.
Because then it's changing, and then it's not eternal. And then it's like Paul Selig said, that which is true is always true.
Right. And that's a form of eternalism. So now on the other side, where with relative reality in its extreme, it becomes nihilism. Now you get hyper-materialism, the idea that like, this isn't really, we're just you've heard a million different versions of this thing, but it's like, we're just molecules, man, temporarily coming together. We're nothing really, man. You think you're something, but you're not. There's nothing there. You're just space trash that woke up for a second. You're going to die, and that's it. Some version of that. Mm-hmm. So that's nihilism. And so between eternalism and nihilism, this is us. This is why Buddhism is called the middle way. It's the place where you find a way to hold both of those realities. And that's, some people call that the joining of heaven and earth. It's the idea of like, somehow these two things coexist simultaneously. Somehow nothingness and everythingness, which is what you were talking about, they're hanging out together. They're playing games with each other. They're fucking and fighting and trying to, you know what I mean? Trying to work it out. It's like a never-ending debate. Love affair, marriage, divorce, love affair, war. And it just goes on and on and on and on forever. And that's the Leela that they talk about, or like the eternal game, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the polarity that creates the energy of creation itself. Like you need that in a battery, positive and negative. You need the polarity, and you need those things to be attracted to each other and repel from each other. Yeah. And that's part of this substrate of life itself. So I've been studying deep wisdom of Solomon, Kabbalist lineage with my teacher, Mark Gaffney. And it's really painted this interesting, kind of divine pantheon. And they have this idea of a kind of a deity force called Shekinah, which is like also known as Eros, or like the kind of the goddess divine. But really, when you bore down into it, especially Gaffney's interpretation, it's a little bit like the Tao. As they talk about the Tao as being older than God. And that's like a really interesting concept, older than God. So it's basically like the law, except the Tao is kind of like more of a neutral, it's more of a neutral void that contains the way, the Tao, the law. But Shekinah is more of, it's the same thing. It contains the way, the Tao, the law, but it's this loving energy of both allurement and repulsion. And, so both of those different things, or the desire for autonomy is actually more precise than repulsion. So instead of thinking about just pushing something away, it's like the desire to individuate and then the desire to come together. Oh, yeah. Both of those two things are contained within Shekinah, this force that they've called like the goddess. And then there's Elohim, which is like the supernova energy of the light traveling through the universe. So it's just looking at the divine in another way. And then there's Yahweh. There's all kinds of different ways that you can think about it. But really, what I've found in my last journey with El Dragon, which you were thinking about coming to,
you always invite me. I ask if you'll invite me. Then because you're very nice and generous, you'll say, come. And then I'm always like, I can't, man. Speaking of a dumb game between light and dark.
We'll just keep going with it, though.
Okay.
We'll just keep going with it.
Okay.
But yeah, so in this, what I saw, what the medicine showed me is that this thing, you can call it the Tao if you prefer that kind of the colder idea of it, or Shekinah if you prefer the warmer, kind of more divine goddess embodiment of it. This is the substrate, the womb that births God. So, and that we are participating in a God that's now in all of its manifestation, differentiation, articulation, but it's a God that's birthed out of this substrate, but it's just one of many other gods. Right. And this is not the first time the medicine has shown me this, which is a fucking mind-blowing thing, that there's not just God, there's many gods, but that requires that there to be some kind of link between them, which is Shekinah or the Tao, which is like the law that exists as the substrate connecting all of them. Yeah. So there's like, you could call that like the super God. And then maybe there's more fucking super gods. I don't know. Like it could fractal all the way up, all the way down.
Gods all the way up. Well, this is actually like it. I'm sorry if I keep going. In Buddhism, freaking Buddhist nerd. In Buddhism, I hate that, but it's what I'm into.
I do the same thing. I just talk about psychedelics. So
it's what I'm into.
It's our conversations.
It's a symbol set, whatever.
Yeah,
it's like I might as well be like in the Wolverine comic, 489. Wolverine said, it's embarrassing. So you have this thing called the Wheel of Life, or the Wheel of Samsara. There's different names for it in Buddhism. It's a mandala that represents essentially the cycle of incarnation. So you've got the human realm. That's what we're in right now. And that's considered to be the most desired birth now. That is a very human thing to say, isn't it? Of course, humans are like, this is the most desired birth because this is what we do. We're human-centric. But the reason they say it's the most desired birth is because if you go this way on the wheel, you're going to end up in the realm of the gods. There's actually two distinctions in the realm of the gods. There is the realm of the gods, and then as this thing keeps going, and it's kind of a map of entropy, really, in both directions. Like if you, in the human realm, if you do good things, if you're generous, if you help, if you're not a selfish piece of shit, then you accrue this kind of momentum. You know what it is. It's like the more that you're like helping, the more you're not self-centered, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more you help. It produces...
And the more you feel you deserve good things from the universe. That's like one of the mechanisms that I think people underestimate is you do good shit, and it's like the universe does good shit for you. Yeah, because you feel you deserve it. And your conversation with the universe is like, here, I'm ready.
There you go. That's and so in Buddhism, this is called merit. So you're accumulating this, like, whatever you want to call it. I could think of a million arguments for, okay, what is the merit? Where is it stored? What is it, like Bitcoin? Are you talking about some kind of metaphysical Bitcoin you invest in? It's a little bit market economy language or whatever, but probably experientially, anyone who is like gone through a period of going from selfishness to non-selfishness, the immediate relief that comes the moment you stop being so self-centered. Like it's like, oh my God, like my back was itching, and to try to like fix that, I've been like scratching my leg, and suddenly like, oh fuck, I'll scratch my back. It feels so much better. It's like if you're selfish, you've been trying to deal with your own suffering by helping yourself. Makes sense. You're a self. You're hurting. Let me, self-care myself into like a big lotioned up puddle of massaged meat, and still I feel like shit. But the moment you're like cooking dinner for people, giving things to people, asking people if they need help, even just with your pets, spending more time with your pets, all of a sudden you start feeling this weird lightness. So that lightness is merit, and that lightness leads in this realm to a lot of great things. And this is all the manifestation people, all the like schools of thought regarding like you can have anything you want. But in all those schools of thought, you can have anything you want. The way they tell you to do that is not by being a selfish asshole, right? They're not like, if you want success in this world, just fixate on you alone and you're going to be great. Inevitably, there's some idea of helping, of letting go of your identity, and then you can get a bunch of stuff in this world, and you will become...
And the less you care about it, the more you'll get.
Yeah, exactly. So this doesn't stop when you die. From this worldview, this actually continues. And so when you die, if you have all of this merit, then that momentum continues, and you can find yourself in the realm of the gods. Now your lifespan is infinitely longer than your current lifespan here, and you will be all the things that you've experienced in this world as far as having what you want or thinking about something and there it is, and all the things that we associate with wealth or like the global elite or whatever, it just keeps going. And so now you're a god, and this is why in Buddhism they say the human realm is the best realm, because as a god, experiencing whatever the fuck that is, and we probably can't even imagine it, but it's so overwhelmingly blissful. Everything's incredible. Everything's wonderful. You forget all the human shit, all the suffering, all the stuff, all the lessons that you learn here in the human realm. It's all gone. Now you're in the realm of the gods, fully absorbed in whatever that is, but
it's boring.
And there you go. And now the wheel continues to turn. Now we start having the merit begins to fall away.
You just get that flickering thought, like, what does that asshole smell like?
I think God's actually loves.
Let me get down in there and bury myself in the perfumed garden of a beautiful lover. Either sex,
If
whatever
I had
your
to
thing
roll
is.
the dice, I would say gods do eat ass.
Yes, indeed.
Like if I'm in Vegas, I'm betting that for sure gods eat ass. So the gods, what happens actually is either that sort of thinking comes in, or more likely, the thought comes into your head like, I don't know if I'm going to be a god forever. Like, I feel like things are changing. I feel like whatever this thing is going to go away. It's the moment that flickers in the mind of a very wealthy person when they start getting really freaked out by their wealth. Instead of enjoying it, they're like trying to like hold on to it as tightly as they can. They get worried it's going to go away. People are robbing me. This won't last. Oh, fuck. And so the thing that got them there, assuming it wasn't, some nefarious act, the thing that got them to that point, they stopped that behavior pattern, and now they're not generous anymore. Now they're not being kind. Now they're self-absorbed again. Entropy kicks in. Now we start going into the realm of the jealous gods. This is where the gods start fighting. And this is like in a lot of world mythologies, gods are always fucking fighting, battling each other. They're always at odds with each other. This is the realm of the jealous gods. And so jealous gods, because they're fighting and because they're like becoming increasingly more self-absorbed, now they will fall down into the animal realm. So it goes from being like, I'm a generous human, to holy shit, I'm a god, to fuck, I want to stay a god forever. I'm going to have to fight the other gods over resources, to, oh shit, I'm a dog. I'm a dog. Now I really am sniffing assholes all day long. And then that continues, that momentum can continue down. And again, this doesn't necessarily mean because you're a dog, you will end up in the hell realms, but now things start gaining even more mass, the possibility for change or liberation, it becomes increasingly impossible, because like dogs are purely instinct mostly, or most in things in the animal realm. My poodle, there's a noise outside. It's like, when I see light, I'll sneeze. When my poodle hears anything, it shriek barks, runs around the house freaking out. It's not thinking, I don't know if I should bark. It seems to be waking the babies up. And every time I do it, the lady yells at me. It just barks. And then so this gets you into the hell realms. You keep going down in the hell realms. It's like the realm of the gods. Much longer lifespan, but you're in fucking boiling oil or frozen in ice, crystallized down. And somewhere in there, maybe you start remembering, I don't think it's all about me. And then human birth again, and then